Many of the young people abducted and murdered by the dictatorship had young children who disappeared with them. It's emerged that some of these children survived, having been secretly sent away for adoption. Belen Gentile is the most recent child of the disappeared to have been discovered. She had always known she was adopted, but last year she took a DNA test which revealed that her real parents were victims of the dictatorship. She's come to Buenos Aires to see her newly found grandmother. Belen's real father was Irma's son. He disappeared in 1977 with Belen's mother. Their bodies have never been found.
This was my father, Horacio, and my mother, Rosa. She's pregnant with my sister, Natalia. That's the day they got married.
Belen, what did you feel seeing these photos of your parents for the first time?
I see them as very young. I'm 30 and they were 22, 20 more or less when they disappeared. It's a young generation that was lost. Now we just want to find their remains so we can bury them.
La historia de vida de cada uno de ellos. Hoy, Campo de Mayo, memoria, verdad y justicia. 30.000 compañeros detenidos desaparecidos presentes, ahora y siempre.
The Argentinian government has pledged to officially identify the detention centers where the disappeared were held and tortured. Today, Irma and Belen have come to commemorate Campo de Mayo. Campo de Mayo is an army base. This is where Belen's pregnant mother was brought by her military captors to give birth. It's where Belen was born. It's the first time she's been here. So you were born somewhere in this military base?
They brought her here at 8 months and gave her a cesarean in conditions. You wouldn't treat an animal like that. Hooded, tied up. They didn't help her. Just left her lying there in bandages they didn't change.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I came here to look for my son. I cried so much, saying, "Please, what have you done to my son?" I was desperate. I walked so much looking for them. This is a pain that penetrates my whole body, my blood, everything. They accompany me, the two of them, so I carry on looking for their remains.
I can't begin to understand what they're going through right now, considering that Irma's son was held here and most probably tortured, and Belen's mother gave birth to her in what was probably horrific circumstances. But maybe it will help them.
The general's brutal rule ended after their invasion of the Falkland Islands in 1982 was defeated by a British task force. Humiliated, they were forced from office. Since then, Argentina's been a democracy, but the political and economic turmoil has continued.
In 2001, the Argentinian economy collapsed in spectacular fashion. Protests and rioting followed as people lost their savings and prices rocketed. After that, the country experienced a boom under President Nestor Kirchner, and then his wife, the current president, Cristina. Now there are fears that in the wake of the world economic crisis, Argentina could once again be on a downward spiral. This roller coaster history has left its scars. Buenos Aires is said to have the highest concentration of psychoanalysts anywhere in the world. And during these traumatic years, many Argentinians have developed deep personal attachments to their national icons, as Adil Ray's been finding out.
Anyone who was anyone in Argentinian society is buried in La Recoleta Cemetery. But there's only one tomb guaranteed to pull a crowd. More than 50 years after her death, the legendary Eva Perón is still one of the most famous Argentinians. In 1945, Evita married Juan Perón. And when he was elected president, she became the spiritual leader of the nation, famed for her love of children and the poor. Today, she's still revered by many ordinary Argentinians.
It was time to leave Buenos Aires and head north. We followed the mighty Paraná, South America's second largest river, into the vast fertile grasslands that make up the central belt of Argentina.
The indigenous people of Argentina have a word for these wide open grasslands. They call them the Pampas.
Agriculture is the lifeblood of Argentina. It's one of the world's most productive regions for cereal crops like wheat and corn. But there's really only one food that this country is famous for.
When you think about farming in Argentina, this is really what comes to mind. The wide open spaces, the gaucho cowboy and the beef cattle.
Americo Santiso manages this small farm alone, and he agreed to show me the ropes.
I think the idea here is we're going to try and get the cows into the pen over here so they can be vaccinated. My skills at this, however, are a bit limited. Hey. Come on. Come on, what are you doing? All done.
Americo is one of the last of a dying breed. This entire area has seen a farming revolution that has repercussions for the entire world.
In the time you've been working as a gaucho, what has been the biggest changes? What's really changed about farming?
The kids I went to school with, they've all left the land and gone to the towns. The whole idea of the gaucho, there's no more of that kind of work. Cattle farming has gone. Because of soy, there's no more cattle.
Packed with oil and protein, the tiny soybean is the new wonder crop being planted across Argentina. More than 50 million tons are harvested here each year, and the country has become the world's third largest producer. But growing soy is highly mechanized. Unlike other crops, only a few farm workers are needed to bring it to harvest, and thousands have lost their jobs.
What was this area like when you were growing up, when you were a lad?
People everywhere. Where you see crops now, there used to be people. I'll show you a house where some people used to live.
Americo, what were the names of the people who used to live here?
De la Joana. Fernando de la Joana.
How long did you know them for?
Sí, un montón de años.
Many years, ever since I can remember.
You must have been devastated when they left.
Sí.
Yes, the owner of this house killed himself.
Se mató.
He took his own life. Why?
Who knows? People say he was depressed.
Depresión, estaba medio depresivo, no sé, no. Un comentario hay mucho, pero no. No, pero es como medio depresivo.
Since the economic slump of 2001, soy has been crucial to Argentina's economic recovery. The beans are mostly exported to Europe and China to be used as cattle feed.
Everywhere you go in this part of the country, you see these huge grain silos. And I've come here to meet one of the biggest soy producers in the whole of Argentina.
El Tajar is a fast-growing family business which grows crops across South America. Luis Kasdorf is one of its directors.
How much soy, approximately, does your company actually produce?
At the moment, we will produce about 1 million tons.
1 million tons?
1 million tons, yeah.
Agriculture provides 60% of Argentina's foreign currency earnings. But some people believe the money is ending up only in the hands of the rich few.
One of the complaints that people have said about soy is that it requires fewer workers to farm the land, to farm soy land.
Yeah.
Is that true? Is that the case?
You may not have the usual profile of the farmer sitting on his own tractor there, but you need people to understand what's going on with the satellite maps, and you have to know what is going on with the soil, and you have to know what is going on with the chemistry of the soil.
It's almost as though you're saying that soy does create jobs, it just doesn't create the traditional farming job.
Our company, perhaps you may have a sample of that. It's our average is 31 years. And more than half of the people who are working with that have a university education.
The soy revolution in Argentina is changing the country. The impact can be seen in the small town of San Pedro on the banks of the Paraná River. For generations, local farms employed workers from here to grow and pick oranges, peaches and blueberries. I arranged to meet a campaigner for the rural poor in the area, Cascote Gonzalez.
But last year she took a DNA test which revealed that her real parents were victims of the dictatorship. She's come to Buenos Aires to see her newly found grandmother. Belén's real father was Irma's son. He disappeared in 1977 with Belén's mother. Their bodies have never been found.
This was my father, Horacio, and my mother, Rosa. She's pregnant with my sister, Natalia. That's the day they got married.
Many of the young people abducted and murdered by the dictatorship had young children who disappeared with them. It's emerged that some of these children survived, having been secretly sent away for adoption. Belén Gentile is the most recent child of the disappeared to have been discovered. She had always known she was adopted.
La historia de vida de cada uno de ellos. Hoy, Campo de Mayo, memoria, verdad y justicia. 30.000 compañeros detenidos desaparecidos presentes, ahora y siempre.
Belén, what did you feel seeing these photos of your parents for the first time?
Veo muy chiquitos, yo tengo 30 años.
I see them as very young. I'm 30 and they were 22, 20 more or less when they disappeared. It's a young generation that was lost.
Es una generación joven que se perdió.
Now we just want to find their remains so we can bury them.